The New York Times has joined Marianne Budd at Washington National Cathedral lecturing Mr. President Trump on deportations. The New York Times said it would be wrong for Mr. Trump to interpret polls showing 55% of Americans are in favor of deportations as blanket support for everything else he wants to do. Just like Marianne, they're asking for a concession. But what are they offering in return? Did Mary Ann offer her love, support, and prayers? And is the New York Times offering any positive reporting on what Mr. Trump is trying to do? Later, when Mr. Trump was being browbeat by the press about commuting the sentence of a January 6th rioter for injuring a police officer, he said, "Stop it. The American people are tired of all this nonsense, and they voted for change." That's the story the New York Times is not reporting. And it's the miracle the church has been waiting for. They just lack the faith to see it. Welcome. Welcome to Conservative Coffee Hour. I'm Stanley Smith. At the inauguration, there were two speeches. One was the cleaned up positive one after the taking of the oath, and the other was the more down and dirty one in the overflow room a little while later. There was a lot of talk about what Melania Trump would be wearing to the inauguration, and she said whatever it would be appropriate. Trump's first speech was appropriate, and the second speech, maybe less so. There's a time and place for everything. There is conjecture about how appropriate Marianne Budd's comments were at the prayer service. Two significant nuance events help define this question: what is appropriate and what is needed. When Alejandro Mayorkas resigned as border czar recently, he said he kept the border secure by failing to keep it secure because it was the administration's policy. He went on to explain that policy is created by consensus, and then it's everyone's job to stand behind the policy and carry it out. It was quite an insight, and it was basically a new version of "I was just following orders." The other nuanced example was at that first press conference to announce the new initiative with artificial intelligence. During that conference, Trump was browbeat by a reporter about commuting the sentence of a January 6th rioter for injuring a police officer. The reporter was looking for a concession, a gotcha moment, and a concession to follow. Mr. Trump is a businessman, and everything is negotiable. Just needling people with a "what have you done for me lately" agenda is not negotiating. It's kind of slavery. At the press conference, they said that soon healers on Native American reservations will have access to diagnostic and treatment regimes from places like Sloan Kettering Institute. But it'll all be made possible through the assistance of artificial intelligence. Now, that's aspirational. And I love the reference to Sloan Kettering. It's the top of the top, like saying Worth Avenue or Rockefeller Center. It's often said a society is defined by how they treat the lost, the least, and the lowly, basically the poor. But it's not very aspirational when you define a society by the poor. Perhaps the last time we heard the word aspirational was in the 1980s and Ronald Reagan. But now the threads seem to be coming together again. If the church and the New York Times can't see that, perhaps it has less to do with not knowing who they're talking to and more to do with having very little faith in the future of our world. At the National Cathedral service, they could have called the first family up to the chancel and had a laying on of hands to evoke the power of the Holy Spirit. Now, that would have been a cosmically charged aspirational moment. It would have been a shrewd negotiating maneuver, asking Mr. Trump to have mercy in exchange for offering the full weight and power of the church to do so. May the power of the Holy Spirit be with you, and we're praying for you. They could have said that, but they didn't. so I just did. If you would like to join us at Conservative Coffee Hour, Conservative Coffee Hour is every Saturday at 10 a.m. Central Time on Zoom. I will include my email in the description of this video. Be happy to send you an invitation. And I look forward to seeing you very, very soon.